Hey, it's Frank here with 4D Honeybee, and it is Extraction Day! The day that we take our liquid gold from the honeys, from the bees, honey from the bees, that type of thing. And I'm expecting to take honey from 2 boxes today. My fantastic box, which has done well for 2 years now, produced a lot of honey. And my nasty box, which has got a bit of a temperament to it, but they've produced a lot of honey this year as well. What am I expecting to take? Well, they both have either 2 or 3 supers on them. They're medium supers, and I expect them to have at least 8 to 10 drawn out frames between the 2, conservatively. So at 3.8 pounds per, you're looking at anywhere between, let's say, conservatively 50 to, on the high end, probably 80 pounds today. So the key thing about today also is you have to look at the frames that don't have capped honey and decide what to do with them. I ran into some trouble with this last year. I didn't really know what to do with frames that had uncapped honey. So I did process some and I kept it separated from my capped honey, and sure enough it fermented. What I should have done last year and what I will do this year is figure out a way to feed that back to the bees to let them bring it in for stores. So that's what we've got today. It's a stunner of a day here. It's September 16th. It's, again, a phenomenal day like we've had basically since June right on. It's actually 30, it reached up to 32 degrees Celsius today, which is 90 Fahrenheit. And that is unheard of for mid to late September in Toronto. So we're enjoying it. There's no wind here. The bees are enjoying it. I'm going to sweat myself a new one today. But I love doing the extracting when the weather's hot, because everything just happens more smoothly. So thanks for joining me on 4D Honeybee. So here's a look at the yard and what I'm going to extract. You see some hives there at the end are already starting to get in the shade, but these are still in pretty decent sunshine. I'm going to take honey from this one here, that's my gangbuster hive, and this one here, that's the nasty hive. So you can see they each have 3 honey supers on them, but I highly doubt that they're all drawn out and all capped. So we'll see what they give us. You can see the bearding here. I put entrance reducers on these hives when I got rid of a hive and I disbanded it, put it in the grass. And I think I'm going to remove those as well right now because it's just too hot. They need the space for ventilation. They need the space to move bees in and out of those hives. So in the process of extracting the honey, I'll also get rid of those reducers. Okay, so as I said, I'm going to start off with my gangbuster hive here. The reason why I call it that is I've had this hive for 2 years and it has just gone crazy since day one. It's done really, really well. It's got a lot of bees in there, and I think as a result of the fact that I eliminated one of my hives, like basically consolidated it into the grass out here, I think a lot of those bees ended up back in this hive, and which is good. I think it's helping them just in those last stages of fall production here get ready for the winter. So let's see, I'm going to smoke these bees a lot just because you know, one thing I've got to do next year is I got to find a better way to get bees out of the supers. And I had an escape last year. It didn't work well, and I've got some of that BB Gone stuff right now, but I don't actually have a way to apply it. So you know, I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way, push bees back into their hives, but it's going to mean that a lot of bees get airborne. It's going to mean that I have to use a decent amount of smoke, and it's going to mean with the second hive, they're pretty nasty. It's going to probably be a not so great experience. But let's see. Let's start with this one and see how it goes. Good amount of bees up here. This hive is pretty calm. This is the hive that I split, and I took the split hive home. Now, one thing I'm going to do as well now is I'm going to start eliminating these spider nests in here. You see that? You see the spider nest there? So I didn't mind so much the jumping spiders, the non-web slinging spiders, but the spiders that are making webs are causing me grief because they're blocking up the entrances and catching lots of bees, and I don't want that to happen. I don't mind the odd bee mortality because I do believe they probably control pests to some degree. But you know, to have the hive more or less completely blocked by by a massive web is not acceptable either. So time to manage some of the spiders here. It's interesting, and it's going to be a challenge having to work so high, right? With this super this high off the ground, it's going to be really difficult to push bees off the frames. You're working above your head here, right? So I don't know how I'm going to do that. I'm just going to figure it out as it goes. But again, the reasoning why I do need a better method to get bees out of supers in advance before I'm actually taking the honey from them. It's just too much work, and you know, it's not rocket science. I got to figure something out there. Wow, it's a tremendous box here. Just look at how many bees are up here. And the bird comb doesn't bother me much. It bothers a lot of people that watch these videos, but I think next year what I've got to do is develop a better inner lid that prevents that basically sits right on top of these frames so that there's no space for them to make that comb. I've got some ideas for that. There are some good videos on that, so I think I'll be able to do that all right. First look, and there's a lot of buildup here, but this is the box that should actually be completely drawn out, because as the bees draw out one box, you put the new boxes below and then below. So it's down here that there could be less bees. So you know what I'm going to do? I think I'm going to pull this box out. I'm going to smoke these bees a little, get them down. I'm going to pull this box out, work at it down here below at my kneecap level so that I can more easily knock the bees off, because there's a lot of bees in there. Check this out. Wall to wall to wall bees. So I'm going to smoke this box, and then I'm going to pull it off and see how. Oh wow, that's heavy. Holy smokes, I can barely lift it. It's probably pushing 50 pounds of honey here. Wow. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try this kind of funky camera angle here. Hopefully the camera won't fall because it's halfway up a slope, but it allows you to see the box that they're in and the box they're going to go in, and hopefully the whole process by which I get these bees out. Let's start in the middle here, for no other reason than I know the queen's not up here. You see, I use 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 frames in a 10 frame box, just because I like them to draw it out more, because it makes for more efficient honey harvesting, in my opinion. Now this is one funky little frame here. Look at how funny they've drawn this out. This frame has a whole bunch of little caves in it, and holes and caverns. It's really interesting to look at. The other side is completely drawn out, full of nectar, but not capped for some reason. So this is actually a frame that I will not take. This is a frame that will go right back in. I'll leave it out for now, but it'll end up going back in. Okay. So I still figure that, you know, my next priority, once I finish this honey harvest, my next priority is to count and treat for mites, right? So depending on the treatment options, sometimes you can have honey that's meant for the bees, and sometimes you cannot, right? So that may determine whether or not I leave the supers on for the mite treatments or take them off, right? But for now, I'm not going to take anything that isn't capped. Here's a beautifully capped frame on both sides. Okay, let's get these bees back in. I don't want to dump the bees twice, so you know what? I'm going to push these bees off in front of their hive. So that came out really well. Slide them in here and keep the lid on. kind of a weird pattern here. They haven't drawn out right to the end of the frame, but what they have drawn out is completely capped. Same story here, look at that. So this side's not completely capped off, so I might just test this to make sure it's good, but look at how thick it is. Look, see how thick it is on either side of the edge of the frame? How far drawn out the honey is? So I will check this one when I get home, just to make sure that, well, there is some honey that's uncapped here, but I'll see if that is good enough to process or not, and make a decision on that one at home. Okay, so that's it for box number 1. I'm going to take this up to the truck, then I'll get box number 2 on top here. From the looks of it, doesn't look like there's much capped honey in there. So the haul might not be as good as I anticipated, but we'll see. Okay, so we're going with box number 2 now, and I'm already seeing that there's less drawn out comb. Tons of bees there, so they're busy. What I will end up doing, if I don't do it now, I'll probably do it in the next week or 2 depending on the weather, is just all of the medium frames like this that I'm pulling out that have nectar but are not capped, I have to get rid of, because I'm only prepared to overwinter these bees in 2 or 1 deep brood boxes, right? I can't have this sitting on top. So I'll just stick it out there in front of them and let them rob it. Of course, it'll mean that, I think it'll mean most of the honey ends up back in the hive, but certainly not all of it. And it also can spur on robbing with other hives, but none of my hives at this point are weak, per se. There's another frame on this side just full of nectar, but nothing that can be taken right now. Okay, so now the rest of the frames I won't pull out because I've run out of space to put them, and if they're not drawn out, there's really no point. Or if they're not capped, there's no point. That's the case. They're all nicely drawn out. They're starting to cap them, but not anywhere close yet. Certainly not close enough for me to consider harvesting it. So what I will do, oops, one nasty bee, didn't quite sting me, but you can see one is starting to come after me. Nope. Okay, so I'm going to remove this box now and look at the last box, and hopefully there's at least 3 frames that I can pull from the last box. Have a look at the situation here. Because I've got 3 leftover frames in this box, it'd be nice if I could pull 3 frames out of the box below so that I could leave 2 boxes back on this hive. But we'll see. It doesn't always work out that way. Again, Mother Nature doesn't really pay attention to my numbers, I find. Look at this frame of honey. This has got to be 4 pounds of honey right here. Look at that. Look at how much honey there is. The official first take on the Gangbuster hive turns out to be 11 frames. I miscounted. 11 frames, 11 medium frames. They should come in just under 4 pounds a piece, so we're looking at, you know, around 40 pounds of honey there, which is tremendous. I've already taken 50 pounds, actually closer to 60 pounds from my Gangbuster and my Nasty hive. So now I'm going to get into the Nasty hive, and I'm going to put on my gloves. I won't even try working those bees without gloves because they're going to get nasty. And look what I learned how to do. Check it out. Pretty cool, eh? That is an absolute must in this temperature. Keep hydrated, and I keep resting in the shade in between boxes and such. So last big push. Again, this hive has 3 supers again as well. See that? 1, 2, 3. One I'm pretty sure is almost completely drawn out. It's probably the one on the top, and then the ones on the bottom I just don't know. I just don't recall. So hopefully if I can get another 10 frames or so out of this hive, you know, that will mean a production of anywhere between a second haul of anywhere between 45 and 60 pounds, which will make my total haul up in the area of 120 pounds. Last year I got 40 pounds and I barely used it all, so I will have to get creative. I've got some plans that I've just come up with right now. I was sitting at the truck resting for some of that honey. So I'm going to get the gloves on and I'm going to get on this last hive, and thanks for joining me. Okay, I've tried to move the angle back a little way so that you can see more action. You can't see the top of the hive, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to bring these top brood boxes down to work with here, down here. So we'll see how she goes. Okay, so the first 5 frames are complete. I'm going to take those up to the truck so that way I'm not hauling so much honey all the time. Okay, so I took all 8 frames from that top box, and that was the easy one. I anticipate that now, I mean that was easy because all 8 frames were very obviously drawn out and ready to go. Now as we move into the next 2 boxes, first off, the hive has already been open for a much longer period of time, so the bees are going to get nastier. And secondly, not all these frames are going to come in, so it's just going to take a little longer. So as you see, I'm using a lot of smoke. Maybe you can't see it, but I am using a lot of smoke, believe me. And with this hive particularly, there's no choice. They get nasty pretty quick, so the more smoke you use, the less they focus on you. So here we go. I'm going to bring it out, put the box right on top of this other box. It's down, 4 to go. So I'll take this box up. Just can't take any more because it weighs too much. So, but that's going to be a tremendous haul. This is going to be a lot of honey for me. Okay, so I ended up taking 4 frames from the second brood box, which is really impressive considering my stronger hive had fewer frames drawn out and ready to go. So this hive is doing incredibly as well. So I'm into the last box here now. I hope you can see it over here. I'm going to set it down over here. The frames that I can take I'm going to put into this empty box. The frames that I can't take I'm going to put in there, and hopefully there's no more than 3, 4, no more than 6 left over. But I don't know, things don't usually work out that way, but let's see. Now you remember, this was the hive that I was going to pinch the queen on, because it was really nasty, but it's been fantastic right now. This is the best I've ever seen it. So far I'm very happy that I didn't pinch that queen. Now of course we need to see what's going on inside the hive, but with this number of bees, it's very likely that this hive is doing really well. This hive, we're going to kill all these spider nests here. See them all? Because spiders are starting to take a toll on the bees. Okay. Myself here. Oh, there's a spider right there. Okay, get out of here. Little baby jumping spider. Alright. Button up this hive and that's it. We're out of here. Okay, so I'm about to leave the yard and just look at these bees. One last look. This is my gangbusters hive. Look at the bearding. Look at the number of bees there. Just a tremendous amount of bees. All my other hives are cooking too. There's 3 more over there. There's 1 more over here. And so, I mean, this shows that I dismantled the one hive, which used to sit right in between here, the Costanza hive. I pushed the bees into the grass here, and I came the next day and the bees were gone.
they were, and I'm convinced that they've gone back into these 2 boxes and maybe some of the other boxes, because look at how many bees there are, and it's just tremendous. I think I took between 23 and 25 frames today, and coming in just under, 4 pounds each, you're talking about a load of between 80 and 100 pounds of honey. So that's incredible, considering I've already taken about 60 pounds. So yeah, next scene, hopefully we'll be back at my house or in my car for a little wrap up. Well, if I look pooped, it's mostly because I am. Just leaving the bee yard now. And I think the total, I was probably there for about 2 hours and 45 minutes or so extracting that honey. And I thought my take was going to be between 40 to 60 pounds. Of course, I'm happy with anything, but I was happy with that. I think the total take could be between 60 to 80, or maybe on the high end between 80 to 90 to 100 pounds. I think 80 is probably pretty realistic based on how many frames I took. I think I took out 23 frames. And it's been a long day already. I started the day taking my daughter to the archery range because she wanted to go sling some arrows, and anything that gets me out of the house and outdoors I will do. But it was a scorcher of a day, and she actually ended up getting heat stripped a little bit. So, but I took her to the range, got back, came out to the bees. It's now pushing 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and I hope someone's going to help me with the extraction process at home because I'm just beat. Maybe we can leave it till tomorrow, but the process continues, and now it gets interesting when we actually get down to the nitty-gritty of pouring that liquid gold.